What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Goods, XY. Big Z. We back in the building, man. Listen, today we watching this video from a friend of the channel, Curtis King. I know y'all follow Curtis King out there, man. If you don't, I suggest you go subscribe, follow, man. Curtis King has been on fire lately, and Curtis King got Mick Jenkins out there, man. Jenkins is calling out hip-hop media. So let's watch this and let's talk about it, y'all.
DIY.
What is your viewpoint in terms of how this is working out in terms of media? Because a lot of media has focused on like the low hanging fruit.
I'm frustrated. I mean, I've rapped it. I definitely rapped it on the Patience. You know, I'm frustrated with hip hop media, especially because I respected different sects of hip hop media for sure. I was telling you, especially written journalism. You know,
Right.
because that's not as important to our. I don't know where written journalism fell off, actually. I don't know if it was fans not paying enough attention. If
Well, some print disappeared too, right?
Yeah, but that's, it's money, right? Right. But it's like, why were we losing money on print? I don't know. People just stopped reading for hip hop media. Let's say that for sure. The less people reading, the less good writers are going to be writing.
I think a lot of hip hop has just become visual, right? In a sense that, back then you wanted to really read up on your artist. Like we used to read album covers. Like think about CDs. You used to have the CDs. You used to go to the back of the CD, read the credits a little bit, read a little bit about the album, what it's about, read who produced this, who wrote this, who did that. We used to just read more, bro. Like I feel like now niggas just say read it. I could see how print media in hip hop kind of went down the same route, right? I mean, when we got to the digital age, we in the digital era now where everything's online. People don't even want to read articles online. People want to see it in video format. And I think that's where everything is going. And I still enjoy print media, but a lot of it has fallen off because there's not enough people out there doing that. So I'm always shocked when I see somebody actually writing about specific artists and not just the headline and what's going on, writing full breakdowns. It's always kind of interesting to see that. But the art of writing about artists, print media is definitely long gone these days.
In quality, in my opinion, because there were places that I went. I read Wax Poetics. You feel me? Like I read a couple different publications. That's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
For hip hop journalism, and so once that was gone, then obviously we turned to the visual aspect or podcasting, right? Because that's what was left to do. The most popular podcast for hip hop media, while I have my opinions on each of them, I feel that none of them really get into the music and the process and the producers and the process and then at all.
That's facts though. Like when you looking at how we consume music these days and how we get our information on when it comes to new music, podcasts, that's the main source for a lot of people. They see artists on podcasts, they watch those podcasts and they watch those artists talk about, the album rollout, what's coming out and different things. But a lot of these artists aren't really talking about the process. What made you come up with this record? What was the inspiration behind this? Who produced? What's the process of creating this specific project? You know what I mean? I feel what he's saying there. I think that is also getting lost in the sauce when you get this visual aspect, when you get podcast media, people just sitting and talking to the artist. A lot of these people just want to find out about what you doing. That's why, people like Curtis are important. People that's going to sit with an artist and actually talk about these things. You know what I mean? I feel like this is a great direction to be going in rather than, sitting with an artist and being like, tell us about the shit you did back in the day, or what the fuck was you doing at this, or what about this artist that you talked about? You know what I mean? It's just, it's a little corny now.
Which is why we care to begin with.
Yeah, a lot of he said, I understand entertainment. I don't expect that to dominate the conversation, right? The same way we're not actually talking about the art of the basketball dominating basketball conversation. You understand what I'm saying? Which is
political affiliation.
Your points, which is what made the JJ Redick and LeBron thing so powerful. JJ Redick and LeBron was really in there talking about pick and roll,
X's and O's in a way that you can never hear Stephen A. say.
Yeah, and it's just and it is that as beautiful as that was, as beautiful as the comment section on that was. You feel me?
Bunch of head coaches.
That's not going to dominate in rap media. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have that expectation in hip hop, but
and that's great that he clarified that, because when we do talk about it and say that we miss it and we hope it's something that could be talked about more, we understand that it probably won't dominate hip hop because a lot of people don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? And not that they don't want to hear that, but it can't just be the conversation. So even though we might say all they talk about is what's going on, the entertainment aspect of it, there's still a space for that, I guess, is what we're trying to say. That's still needed.
I don't hear it at all. You know what I'm saying? Like when I hear people talk about, we could go from the biggest podcast, let's go to reviewers. You know what I'm saying? It's like Anthony Fantano, as an example. I hear people like him and him. I'll say him. You can go reference this because this is somewhere I was kind of disappointed to hear. He reviewed Jiz's album. I think it was last year or the year before last. And in that, I hear things like that of like, we're reviewing the music based on what we expected from you and not based on what you had to give me, you know. And I gave it to you off camera. I was like, that's like you sitting down at a notable chef and being frustrated before you take a bite that there's not something that you expected to be on the plate. Like, oh man, y'all ain't got no beef ribs.
Great analogy, yo. Great analogy. I can feel him on that. I think we all are guilty of it, right? Of expecting certain things from certain artists rather than accepting what the artist gives you, right? I think we all kind of are guilty of that. And it could be just the sense that we're spoiled. Like we probably just super spoiled because you have a lot of artists out there that conform to giving the people what they think the people want to hear, rather than having an artist who just goes out there and gives art. You know what I mean? You could say it's a lost art. Like, you know, just giving people the raw, authentic you, you know, and not really conforming to what you think people want to hear. I think this is how people, you know, end up having different sounds that aren't really organic or aren't really their type of sound or who they are as an artist. And they come out with these projects that make people look at them sideways like, what the fuck was that? You know? So I could definitely see that.
Like, well, no, brother, that's not what I made for you. No. But because I ain't got no rib on the plate, now you're gonna talk about how the plate isn't what you expected it to be. It's like I wasn't giving you what you expected,
brother.
I was giving you what I wanted to give you.
You ain't got to censor yourself. Say what you said off camera. Say what you said off camera when you.
Wait, what did I say?
You said, "Bitch, it ain't no beef broccoli."
Yeah. I said, bitch, it ain't no fucking ribs. Like, yo, what? Did you fucking try the meal yet, nigga? Like, what? You go a notable chef. Let me see what Chef Jenkins is cooking up today. Walk in. You're just in time. I'm revealing my meal of the season. You feel me? Like, that's my album. My meal of the season. My plate of the season. Motherfucker, look at my plate like, no chicken?
Yeah, that's a dope way to put it, man. He's spitting facts. Like, you can't, when you look at these artists should be giving you what they have to give. Like, you're going into their space expecting them to give you something, but people are getting what they're being given and like, what? You ain't, what the fuck is this? Like, you know what I mean? Instead of accepting the art for what it is, like, you don't go and review someone's art, you know, like a painting or whatever, and say, I expected a little bit more blue and like green. Damn, you ain't want to put no yellow in this motherfucker. Like, you know, stuff like that, man. So I get it, man. That's definitely understandable.
Big go to the podcast. It's like, well, I'm reviewing Mick Jenkins' plate today. The problem, sadly, it didn't have any chicken on it. It's just like, what the hell does it have to do with what I served you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
that couldn't be more accurate. I promise you. That's why I need the uncensored version, because when you said that, it had me in tears, because I'm like, people really do, and it's like shout out to Anthony, because at least what I get from him, what I appreciate is there's sometimes things I learn about my favorite artists that maybe I didn't see in a moment, right? At least he's somebody in his space that he has his own style of doing things. It's more so the guy, the person that's no credentials, no professional anything. It's just the guy.
Stamping Fantano.
You stamping that one? Okay.
I'm including. This is what I'm talking. I don't watch him all the time. Am I accusing him of doing that all the time? No, that's why I went to a specific video. I watched that and I said, I wish he would have looked at this from a different perspective. And again, I'm not trying to bash him. I truly wish he would have looked at it from a different perspective, because what someone is trying to deliver you sometimes matter more than a certain quality that you expect. You will miss what somebody is trying to do by looking at it by what you're expecting to hear from them.
I like that he stamped Fantano, because I think regardless of how you think about his reviews and opinions, I don't look at people who do reviews and, you know, have opinions on records to get everything right. I don't expect everybody to go and view it from the correct perspective every single time. Like, everybody's gonna have a different way of viewing something. Like, I just think that's just the nature of the game, and that's what makes it organic. Like, everybody's not gonna have the same opinion. Everybody's not gonna view it the same way. So I do respect that, man. I like the fact that he stamped him either way and went to a specific video that he disagreed with. That's dope.
Evaluating what the album should sound like or the quality of the album based on metrics, because this is what a lot of people do that have nothing to do with actual creation of music.
You've never made it, you've never tried to make it, and yet you're telling somebody else how to make it.
Understand why you evaluated it from that, but I also understand as an artist that has no place in forming your opinion about what someone presented to you. You know what I'm saying? And I hear that in the way that people speak. You don't speak like, oh, I tasted this plate and I'm evaluating what I'm tasting for what I was presented. I evaluate lasagnas against other lasagnas. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
that's not what I.
Or.
Yo, I like that he putting these analogies for all the hungry niggas out there. All y'all hungry niggas out there, man, eating and shit. Now y'all get it. Shout out to Mick Jenkins, man.
If I am evaluating a lasagna against a fucking green pea soup, right? I don't say that the green pea soup is trash because I love lasagna. Like, you know, that way that reviews do, right? That's not how you speak about these two separate things, even if you're going to compare them, right?
Yeah.
You give respect to what one dish is and respect to what the other dish is, even if this dish is your favorite, and you was always going to talk about this dish better than that dish because this is your favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's a way to speak about that gives respect to both, and that's not what I regularly hear when people review albums, even if it's a positive review.
Yeah.
There's a way that we speak about music that kind of removes what artists are actually doing.
Yeah. Well,
right, like that album,
plate.
which is why I said, Mr. Morale, I say the same thing. I wouldn't even say this about reviewers. A lot of people didn't receive Mr. Morale, Kendrick shit for what he was actually trying to give you. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the same thing I felt from Jid for that last album. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, but he was telling us a personal story, and I was a fan of it because he opened up.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan of Jid, he opened up to tell us a story in a way that I hadn't heard in space music. And it's a shame that when I heard a reviewer, nobody talked about that.
Yeah.
Like, damn, we're not gonna talk about how this nigga is opening up in a way that he hasn't previously opened up in his music as far as a body of work. Oh no, we're gonna talk about our expectations. We're gonna talk about what we didn't hear, what we would have wanted to hear, like, and not what we would. And so I hear that thread of how I speak about the music in a lot of reviews. And that's just something that is just like, man, I wish we thought about this differently. Receive it and talk about what you received. Too much of what you expected, too much of what you would have wished, too much of what you desire is in the evaluation.
I think the problem is a lot of people listen to these artists and they already have expectations when these artists come out with records, right? They already expect a certain thing, and when they don't get that certain thing, they talk negatively about that. And a lot of these people have voices, right? So you have somebody who does a music review, and because it's not what they expected, they're not necessarily reviewing the music and what they've heard. They're reviewing it based on what they expected and what they didn't receive. So I definitely get where that could be frustrating, and that's definitely a thing that's going on in music today. And it definitely trickles down to hip hop media. So I get that. And I feel like I said, I feel like we're all guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. We listen to artists and we expect certain things, you know, like even when Kendrick first came out with GNX, there were people that expected something different. And because it wasn't what they expected, they wasn't fucking with it. Same thing with Mr. Morale. Like that came out and it wasn't what people expected and they wasn't fucking with it. And a lot of people have mixed reviews because of that. Instead of saying, you know what, as a fan of Kendrick, here's what he gave us. Let me evaluate this. You know, it was more like, here's what he gave us. That's not the shit that I like. You know, take that shit back. You know what I mean? So I feel it.
Right. You said it. You said more than a word there. This buddy gonna get pushed a whole lot today, huh? That's what we gonna do today. I feel like it is twofold though, right? Because I do feel like artists like you are the 1 percentile, 2 percentile, right? That exists in this space, in my opinion, at least, in terms of the attention to detail, the emphasis on quality over just quantity, even though you produce an amazing amount of quantity. I do think there was a an era of artists that prioritized making music that would appease the playlisters, appease the fans in a certain way, or appease the consumer. And it feels like that kind of possibly added to the entitlement that some of the folks have when they're reviewing or when they're doing these things, where it feels like, well, this is not, if you're making this for me, well, this is why I don't like this, and this. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm getting at? Yeah.
I'm absolutely 100%. I can't argue with that at all. That's more than obviously. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'm not expecting this to dominate the airwaves. I just don't hear it at all. And that's really what's sad. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if there was a place where I know I could go, then I wouldn't have this complaint. And I think that's why I like what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I love what you're doing, because I feel like, yo, beyond my likes and my desires for what I want to see in hip hop media, it'll be good for hip hop media. It'll be good for these young niggas. It'll be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, where are you going? What power will your voice hold a year from now, 2 years from now? Feel me? Versus, you know, where it was 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago. You feel me? So that I look at people like you and be like, oh, I would love if somebody like that,
I appreciate it,
ascended to holding a certain space. You feel me? Like, because I could trust somebody like that. I want to go talk to somebody like that. I can, you know what I'm saying? And then you tell me the other people that you got coming in here, and that verifies exactly what I feel. It's like, oh, that nigga want to come talk to you too? I that'll surprise me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, see,
that'll surprise me.
Shout out to Curtis King. Curtis King on fire right now. 2 times for Curtis King. Fuck it. 3 times for Curtis King, man. Come on, man. Let's go.
Been told them I bamboozled them. Like, Mick, I've been told the audience, I said, yo, probably came here because of the battle. That's cool. I'm putting the vitamin in the brownie though, and you're gonna have to take the whole brownie and just enjoy that. Like,
putting the vitamin.
I'm here to talk hip hop. I'm here to talk lyricism. I'm here to talk to the most elite writers that I can talk to, because if it wasn't for YouTube, I'd be doing this anyways. Because I just have a passion for listening to things that make me say, "How did you do that?"
I hope you extend to a authority in this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody that niggas go to, because we need more people like you in this space. Like, with your thought process, with your respect, with your honor, with your experience, you shut yourself, because it comes through. And I think that's why, you know, at least 2-3 months that I've been following you, I've seen the growth on you in your shit. The way I don't know what you see on your end, but at least in the time that I follow you, I've seen growth. So
every day I wake up and this is more.
It's got to be other people recognizing the value in how you do what you do, just like I am. So
I've been learning.
I appreciate you,
man. I appreciate you. I've been learning not to question God on anything, because I bet a goal this year. Anytime you see a hashtag, anytime you see the comments and they say RR, that's retire Rochelle. That is one of my goals, is to retire my mom this year. And by any means, I'm gonna make that happen. I want it to be legal means, so keep on supporting the channel. I would prefer it to be legal means. But if it get tricky, you ever seen Set It Off?
Tricky out here.
Yeah. I don't even know what that means. You seen Dead Presidents?
No, Set It Off is it, because
you see Set It Off? I don't even know what that means.
I say it all the time. I'll be telling the homies, we have a little play or something. I'll be like, I need that money.
Y'all don't even know, man. If you don't know nothing about Set It Off, man, that's your loss. It's your loss. Shout out to Curtis King, man. One time for Curtis King. One time for Mick Jenkins, man. 2 times for Mick Jenkins, man. And guess what? 1 time for the subscribers right now. 1 time for the subscribers again. 3 times for the subscribers over here, man. Shout out to y'all, man. Listen, I appreciate all y'all being here, man. Yeah, look, that was a dope interview. Listen, I wanna review more. I wanna react to more interviews like that. And it's funny that I say that, is because at the end of the day, I feel like what they're talking about basically correlates with what I just said. I want to do more reactions to interviews like that, but we have to get more content where people are talking about the things that are important in the hip hop space. You know what I mean? And that's why I look at people who do interviews like, you know, the Vlads and the Adam 22s, the No Jumper kind of places, man. And, you know, I'm not going to shit on they shit, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that audience is for somebody, right? It's for somebody. Even if we don't agree with the fact that people give it attention or whatever. That audience is for somebody. So there's an audience for everybody, you know what I mean? And it is what it is. But for me, as somebody who enjoys hip hop, especially like, you know, learning about the back ends of it, the processes, the inspiration behind tracks, the motivation behind tracks, what inspired you to go this direction rather than that direction, you know, I want to be able to like get to a point where I process music a little differently, where I can just receive you know, a body of work from an artist and be able to just talk about that body of work and not listen to it with my own expectations, to the point where my opinions are basically given, you know, off of what I expected. You know what I mean? So respect to Mick Jenkins, man. Respect to Curtis King for this interview, man. It was dope, insightful. Curtis been on a run right now, man. Curtis doing his thing out there. He got a whole bunch of interviews that I gotta catch up on. So shout out to the people, man. Shout out to y'all out there, the subscribers. Y'all already know what it is, man. Let me know how you feel about this in the comment section. Let me know if you agree with everything Mick Jenkins was saying. Let me know how you feel about hip hop media today. Who are the people that you watch to get your hip hop media news from? Who is your go-to person in hip hop media? Let me know in the comment section, man. Listen, if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Violate that like button for your boy. It's your boy Goods, BigZoeTV. Let's go.
Niggas acting bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas, but somebody gotta do it.